Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, the host, and we are here today with Cristie Cerniglia. I said it right before. And I am excited because this is a topic that, if you've been following my podcast at all for the last couple months, it's near and dear to my heart because I'm all about saving marriages. Too many marriages are just breaking up for, in my opinion, not necessary reasons. People aren't willing to do the work that they need to save their marriage. And so I'm passionate about this topic. As a result, my book comes out in just a couple days. And let's talk about how to save marriages. So Cristie, tell us who you are and what you do.
Oh, thank you, Charisse. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so excited that you and I are so on the same page, it sounds like. So I can't wait to find out if you use some of the things I'm going to talk about today. If you talked about them in your book. But I'm Cristie Cerniglia. I live in Lexington, Kentucky with my husband, and we just had our 30th anniversary, which is crazy because I'm only like 32, 33, somewhere in there. But we have 4 kids that I've homeschooled, and we have 3 grandchildren now. I'm wearing my grandma life t-shirt. And and I certified to become a relationship coach. I started studying about 3 years ago and completed my studies last year. So that's just been a wonderful thrill, not only in my own personal life, in my marriage and other relationships, but getting to help other women, like you said, who feel hopeless and helpless and don't know how to save their marriage.
It's crazy because it would be my 30th anniversary this year as well. So we have a lot in common, but unfortunately, my first marriage, I've been divorced from him as long as I've been married to him. So I wish every day that it would have worked out, but it does take 2 to tango, and you have to have 2 people that want it to work. And when one person is trying, and the other person is not, it's hard. And so, there's so many reasons people divorce. I think most of them are selfish. The irreconcilable differences. I mean, come on, put your big girl pants on and let's try to figure that out. Now, I'm in no way, shape, or form saying if you're in an abusive relationship that you should stay in that. But I think that sometimes we really need to figure out, is this something that we can salvage? And that's coming from someone who's divorced, right? And I think for 13 of my 15 years, I tried to salvage it. It wasn't until I was diagnosed with MS and that I had heart surgery, my body was just shutting down. And so I'm excited for this topic because second marriage, my husband and I are 60% more likely to get divorced than the first. And it has not been easy. It's been 12 years or this month, actually, it's going to be, it's going to be 13 years. So it's been tough and it's been hard, but marriage is so important and so vital, especially for our children. So why don't I stop talking and you tell us kind of what some of the tips are that you have that you talk about?
Yeah, I love what you're saying, that when we take 2 imperfect people and put them together to live together forever, there's going to be some strife, right? And the really bad news is that no one has ever taught us how to have a successful relationship, right? We didn't have any classes like that in high school or college, which is really sad because most of us get married. And even when we don't get married, we have relationships and we need to know how to be successful in them. And one of the things we talk about in my program is the skills that it takes to have a happy marriage are different than the skills you might be using from 8 to 5 at your work to be successful in business. And so in business, we're trying to sell more and increase the numbers and delegate responsibilities and things like that. And then we come home and we really need to change hats and become that softer side, that more feminine woman side rather than some of the masculinity that we're having to portray at work. And sometimes that can be a catch for women. And you know what? And it's a blind spot. It's not something that we're aware of or thinking about.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, the resources that are out there about marriage aren't always super helpful. When I found myself struggling in my marriage, and I would read, I love to read books, read the book after book after book. We would go to conferences on marriages. We saw counselors, right? I mean, I was wide open. And really, I have to give my husband credit. He was open to doing a lot of things. Now, he didn't ever read the books. I would leave them on his bedside table, but it didn't work. So, but I was not finding the thing that I needed that gave me the information that I was lacking until I came across Laura Doyle's book, The Empowered Wife. This is what changed things for me. And once I read this book and started implementing some of the skills that she talks about in there, I saw a different man show up in my husband. So prior to that, I had kind of been in the camp, which is where most of the ladies who find me are in, where they say, he does this and he does that, and he has a problem with this, and he's not making me happy in this way. And we have this he problem where we really want him to change for us to be happy. And you know what? And it's a really sad place to be because I don't have control over anybody but myself.
Yep.
And so I was so thrilled when I found the book and the skills and realized there was something I could do, you know, and like you said, it takes two to tango. But when I show up differently, my husband responds to me differently.
Yeah, it's very, very true. It's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like this? And to me, like, I could take that in such a way where I take offense to it because I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm a good person. And, you know, but he's giving me feedback without giving me feedback because he's telling me that I have not been very kind to him or very nice to him for a little bit. And why am I being so nice right now? And I'm like, wait a second, that's not my intention ever. Like, I never want him to feel that. And so how could I be better about that? Now, there's two people in this relationship, but you know, for me, that's something where I really realized that I could do better. And I love that you talked about that. Well, it's him, but what could I do to change? And I think like I told him about a year ago, I don't know, the book has been super healing for me because I've realized a lot. And so writing it has been the best thing. And I've come to grips with, like, you are who you are, and I'm not going to ever change that. So I'm not going to try. Like, either accept it or I don't. That doesn't matter. You have your choices. I have my choices. How I choose to respond to those things is all I can control. That's all. And so if he go fishing with his buddies every single Saturday, which he doesn't, but you know, he'd love to, then okay, that's fine. He gets joy and satisfaction out of that instead of spending time with his family or me. Like, I used to take offense to that, but what I realized was he needs that out. Like, he becomes one when he's out in nature. That's how he gets his recharge. Mine is going to get a massage. So, and he hates massages. So it's just how do we deal with things differently and make sure that we respect each other's boundaries. You know, if that's what he needs, go do it, because you're a much better person and much happier for the rest of the week. You know?
Yes, I love that you're allowing him to take care of himself in a way that brings him joy so that he can show up to the marriage happy.
Yeah.
And then you're going out and finding something that makes you happy in the massage, and you're coming to the marriage happy. I tell people all the time, miserable people do not have happy marriages.
Yeah.
Happy people do. And we have to take our happiness as on our own responsibility. I can't wait around for anybody else to make Cristie happy. I need to take responsibility for that. It's kind of like putting my oxygen mask on before I try to help my whole family, right? My family wants me to show up happy, and I'm a better wife and mom and all the rest when I feel happy. So it's not selfish for us to do things that make us happy so that we can better show up in the home and set a beautiful tone, because if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. So that's wonderful.
And I think it's also, would you agree, taking ownership? Like, I want to say, and this is not why I want to do it, but like something I would love to learn how to do is belly dancing. Like I used to run a college where one of my teachers was a belly dancer. And what she used to do things for us like during our meetings, I'm like, that is like so cool and beautiful. And I don't ever want to perform for anybody, but I would love to learn how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
But for years, I used the excuse, oh, I got to take care of my kids, or oh, I can't do this. And I'm like,
Right.
I can't. They probably would love to play at their friend's house for an hour and a half while I'm gone. Like, I stop
Yes.
using your kids, stop using your husband or your
Mm.
wife as an excuse for why you're not doing what you want to do, you know?
I love it. Yeah, I love it. And how fun, right? It's some of those bucket list things that we
Yeah.
have that nobody else might understand, but it
Right.
is
Right.
okay because
Mhm.
it makes me happy and joyful. I am going to go to a new like hip hop dance exercise class tonight, and I'm certain that I will look absolutely ridiculous shaking my groove thing, but I know I will laugh and
Yeah.
smile and feel good from the endorphins of the exercise and all of that. So, yeah, let's take care of ourselves, ladies. And you know, something else that you brought up, it reminds me of traffic. You know, when you and I are sitting in traffic, nobody likes it, right? And we would like for the traffic to go away,
Mhm.
but we have no power.
Right.
So we can be crabby and grouchy and gripe and complain, or we can turn on a podcast, right? Or listen to some fun music or make a phone call to one of our girlfriends and enjoy the time. It's totally in our power how
Right.
we handle that. But we need to relinquish control of the traffic because we have no control. And that's what I discovered with my husband. Like you said, he is who he is, and he's the man that I chose
Right.
to spend my life with. Does he have faults and flaws? Of course he does. So do I,
Mhm.
right? But I can love him in spite of those things and accept him the way he is
Mhm.
and make changes to the one that I do have control over, which is me. And that was so empowering for me because before that, when I'm trying to change him, everything is hopeless and I'm just a victim. I can't be happy because
Mhm.
and there's no power.
Well, and speaking to someone who has given up one to get another, ladies and gents, if you're considering that, just know that you're going to divorce one set of problems and marry another set of problems. And you
Amen.
might have enjoyed some of these and you don't enjoy some, like,
Right.
again, don't get me wrong. I love my husband and I'm not,
Right.
but what I'm trying to say is that no matter who you're going to be with, there's going to be things that annoy you about them. There's going to be things that
Yes.
you don't like and vice versa. And so just like, if you think the grass is greener on the other side, it absolutely is not. Like it is not. It's just how you choose to do those things. And
Mhm.
like my husband and I, we're both committed to making this work no matter what. And so
Yeah.
because of that, we continue and we have a great marriage, but you both have to be willing to do it and you have to overlook those flaws and realize your locus of control is what I call it, what you
Yeah.
can control.
Yes.
So tell me what your 6 intimacy skills are that you talk about.
So exciting. Well, the first one is absolutely self-care, just like we've been talking about, making myself happy. And it's so funny because the women who come to me, they want to skip that one.
Yeah.
They think that's silly. They think that's a nonsense one. But really, it really may be the most important, the foundational one, because like I said, happy people have happy relationships. And women so many times have lost themselves under the responsibilities of marriage and family and house and bills and work and all the rest. So we've got to start making some time for ourselves for our own joy. Because you know what? When our husbands met us, we were light and fun.
It's
We didn't
kidding.
gripe or complain. We didn't tell them how to drive or what to wear. We just enjoyed their company and laughed at all their jokes. And I want to get back to that. You
Mhm.
know, that's where the fun is.
Yeah.
And that's when they start showing up the way we want them to, with romance and gifts and affection.
Very,
So
very.
one thing leads to another. When I show up happy and pleasable, my husband can't wait to make me more happy and please me.
Mhm.
So it's beautiful, but I have the influence to kick off that beautiful cycle.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So the second one is respect. We all know that, right? That men want respect. We just don't know quite what it looks like, right? I would have said that I was a respectful wife. because I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So when I take women through these skills and when I coach with them or take them through a workshop, we talk about some cheat phrases, some things that they can say, and some that will show up respectful, and some things they might be doing that they don't know. Like me, I had lots of blind spots. I did a lot of complaining that was received by my husband as disrespect, and I didn't know.
And I want to touch on that for a second because I was so guilty of this as a first-time wife. I'm going to call myself that. Because there's a reason why it's called flipping the iceberg, right? Because what you see on the outside is not really what you saw behind that person. And so everyone that knew him on the outside of the house, he was Mr. Wonderful. On the inside, he was a totally different person because he didn't have to perform. And so I would complain to my parents specifically, and I would complain to my friends, and I would complain because it was my way of processing through my stuff, right? But I absolutely loved him, and I loved being around him. I loved spending time with him. We can still to this day, we laugh. We're good friends. And, as long as we don't have to live together. But it was very interesting because I realized that was a huge weakness of mine, that it was disrespect to go and talk to somebody else about our relationship. And because of that, then you have to think, I go home, we make up, everything's fine. But that other person still has that baggage and they're still thinking they're a jerk. And so it's just, definitely do not complain to your parents or those close people, because the outlook changes of them and it's not fair. And so that respect goes outside of the house as well. So I'll get off the soapbox. Keep going.
No, I love it that you recognize that and you're so accountable about that, because the other thing that I know happened for me was that the more I complained, the more I focused on all of these negative things, which caused those to grow bigger and bigger in my sight. Right. And once I started learning the skills and started to focus on what I did love, then those things started to grow. So we get to choose our focus and we get to choose what's growing in our lives. I heard somebody say recently, you've got this wonderful flower garden at your house and all you're seeing is the weeds. Yeah. And so much so that you're not enjoying the beauty of the flowers. And I'm like, oh man, it's so true. There's always going to be weeds, right? We can't ever pluck them all. And so enjoy the flowers and focus on what's really good and it will grow.
I love that. I love that. My sister-in-law once said, because I taught a class on relationships and secrets to marriage, long-lasting marriage. And she said that I have to look at him the way God looks at him. And God overlooks all those flowers, that he only looks at the flowers, right? And so because of that, she stayed in a very difficult marriage for many, many years when many people would have just said enough is enough. But she loves him dearly. And because of that, she just chooses to focus on the positive qualities that he has. And so that's a great example. And I love your analogy of the flowers and the weeds. Okay, so keep going.
Yeah, number 3 is receiving graciously. Isn't that strange? I would have never thought about receiving. But when we talk about receiving, we're talking about gifts and we're talking about help and we're talking about compliments. And it's so interesting because if you gave me a gift, Charisse, I don't care what it was. If it was a rock, I would say, thank you so much. I love it. This was so thoughtful. Thank you, right? But my husband would give me gifts and it was like my manners just went out the window. And I thought, since we're married, I can say and do anything I want, right? And so I would say, why did you buy me this? Like, where did it come from? Can I take it back? It's not really the right color. It's not, And I look back now and I'm so embarrassed because, he has feelings. Yeah. Who knew, right? He has feelings. And guess what? I got fewer and fewer and fewer gifts all the time because I wasn't pleasable and I was difficult to buy for. And boy, once I started receiving graciously, just with that big thank you and lots of appreciation, just like I would to a friend, I get so many more gifts now because I'm fun to give a gift to, right? or just receiving a compliment.
Right.
Just when somebody says, I like your dress, we
Mhm.
don't have to say, I got it at Walmart, I only paid $6.99. We can just say, thank you.
That's true.
You
My
know?
it was 75 cents. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that was
yeah.
the best one. But no, that is so true. And I have to apologize to my husband because for Mother's Day, like, okay, I hate Mother's Day, just for the record, because it just never goes well. But he really tried this year and he got me this thing that he thought that I would absolutely enjoy, which it was so thoughtful of him. And I wish that I would have been like, I'm like, oh yeah, thank you so much. But yeah, he was trying and he was trying to come up with something. And that's a
Right.
huge step from when we first got married. And he's like, you're not my mom. Why should I celebrate Mother's Day? And I'm like,
Yeah.
so now he makes dinner and he goes and gets gifts. Like that's a huge 180.
Yeah.
So definitely need to focus and celebrate on
You've done something right
that.
then to make that go well, because I know holidays were always a painful spot for me in the bad old days because I had all these expectations
Yeah.
and he couldn't possibly live up to them. And now, in fact, we had my birthday in March, and my birthday has been a difficult thing in the past. And this year, I thought to myself, what would I like if I could have just the perfect birthday? And then you know what? I told him I that's one of the skills is
Yeah.
expressing my desires in a way that inspires. And so I said to him, I would love to just have like an open house and order in some food and just let people come by and visit and that sort of thing. I just told him this is what I would love to have happen. And you know what? He was thrilled because he had the information he needed to make me really happy and he didn't have to guess.
Mhm.
And I realize now that in the past, most times I didn't know what I wanted.
Yeah. No.
But somehow I was expecting him to figure it out. What a horrible position to be in. So now he knows exactly what to do. And he's so happy to do it because what I learned is that our husbands really want us to be happy.
Do.
They really want to make us happy. They just need a little information on the best way to do it. And when we give that to them, they just
That's
take
true.
right to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were at the card store. So we started this new tradition. So if you don't like to spend money, I have a hard time spending $8 on a card that people throw away, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what I've started to do, like I found this card that was hilarious. And so I took pictures of it and sent it to my
Yeah.
husband. I'm like, happy whatever day it was. And so he just started laughing. So he's like, hey, should we go to the card section and I'll look at a card that I can send you for Mother's Day. Now we've only done this once, so don't think that we're not stealing or something, but I said, you know what I want to do? I want to make cards for the old ladies at a nursing home and we'll just go say Happy Mother's Day to them. He's like, oh, so immediately calls my kids, go to, start making cards, do this and that. So like, yes, you're right. All they need to know is what do you want? And then he made it happen. And let me tell you, we made a lot of happy ladies on Sunday. So it was a cool thing, cool tradition that we'll probably do from now on.
I love that story. I love that story. And you know, the other thing I coached a lady once who really wanted to receive flowers. But in the past, she had so discouraged her husband from buying flowers by saying that's a waste of money, they're too expensive and all that, that I said, well, what if you get yourself flowers? And, you know, sometimes we don't even think, well, maybe I could meet my own desire, you know? And so she did. She went out and found a beautiful bouquet of flowers and brought him home. And that was all it took. Her husband saw that and thought, oh, you want flowers? All right, I can get you flowers. And so now they're in that beautiful cycle. But it's okay to meet our own needs.
Right.
Sometimes we don't have to always depend on them to do the thing. We can do the thing.
Yep, that's true.
So what have we missed? We've missed relinquishing control. That's a big one. You know, a lot of times as women, we think we have to have our hands in every situation in the house. And it's exhausting, really.
Very exhausting.
And now I find it so freeing that my husband's in charge of baseball. I don't have to use any of my brain power to think of when are the practices, how is he getting there, when is the tournament, where are they playing, all of those things. He takes care of that. And I just don't even get involved. I mean, obviously, sometimes I go to the games, but I don't have to use any brain power on that. Isn't that beautiful? And I don't have to manage him because he is a grown man who is smart and capable.
It's a great idea. That's a
And
great
so
idea.
we can relinquish control. We don't have to tell them where to turn or where to park or what time we need to leave or what to wear. You know, they've been getting dressed for quite a long time. And it turns out that I can leave those decisions to him. And one of the cheat phrases I really love to use as far as relinquishing control is whatever you think, which really freaks him out. Try that one. He'll say, like, what do you think we should do about the cell phone plan? And I'll say, whatever you think. He'll go, because in the past, I had an opinion about everything. And now what do I care? You choose,
Yeah.
right? Let go of some things. And guess what? Maybe that'll free some time up for you to go get a massage, right?
It's okay. So I have to tell a funny story because my husband hates to dress himself. Like he does want to be told. So I'm like trying to sleep because I got 2.5 hours of sleep this morning. And he's like, "Are you awake?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Does this look good? What color of pants? What color of shoes? What color of belt?" And I'm like, "Ah." But what I realize is that is his way of getting involvement. Like he could absolutely make his own decision, but I think, just wants to look good at his job, first of all.
Yeah.
And he wants to make sure that, he feels like I think he looks good. I think he just wants validation, which I'm like, okay, I can't get upset about that anymore because, that's his asking for something,
Yeah. Well,
I'm
good
like,
for
"Oh,
you.
I'll figure it out."
That's the beautiful thing is that you always get to be the expert on your marriage, right? I can make suggestions and we can talk about principles, but at the end of the day, you know your man and
Right.
you know the dynamic and you do what's good for you. And now for one woman, she might get really resentful and angry if her husband's asking about the clothes every day. And so for her, she needs to say, whatever you think, I know you've got this. I trust you with that decision. But for you, it seems like it kind of brings you some joy and brings some closeness and connection, and you're happy to do it. So wonderful.
Well, you're very sweet. I'm really not. I'm more I try, like, okay, this is a hard decision for him today. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's not something I enjoy, but when he's asking, like, it's hard for a guy to ask for help, right? To ask for directions, to ask. So if he's coming and saying, "Hey," clearly he's feeling insecure about something, so let's figure that out. So anyway,
Good for you.
who do you feel like, because I think that this is universal for any person who's married. But when you have somebody that's just completely unhappy in their marriage, what is your recommendation?
Yeah. And that's one of the things we were talking about earlier. I wish people would reach out for help sooner,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes they're really at the end of their rope by the time they reach out for help. And
Yeah.
we all need help from time to time. So don't be embarrassed or ashamed. I promise, right? We can relate to whatever it is that's happening. But yeah, I have seen women win their husband's back where he's gone already. He's living with another woman, or there's a separation, things like that. And then I have other clients who are fairly happy and they just want to kind of shine things up a little bit and refresh and revive some a little bit. But like I said, we always start with self-care because I feel like that's that foundational skill to show up in a good mood. And I want to work with motivated women, right? Women who are saying, what I've been doing hasn't been working, so I'm ready to try something new. And I'm willing to take responsibility for my side of the street. And I'm willing to, experiment with a different way of doing things and see what happens.
Yeah. So if a husband, because I was going to say mine, but that wouldn't be fair to my husband, he'd get mad. And so I have to be respectful of that. But if you had a client whose husband just did not want to be involved at all, he doesn't think that there's an issue, he has kind of checked out. How can the wife create like a passionate, a playful type of marriage with that husband? What is one example that you would give or use?
Right. Well, I only work with women. So that the whole premise of what I do is transforming your relationship without your husband's active role in it. And it's because of the things that we've talked about already, that you're going to show up happier when you start to take care of yourself, that you're going to start to relinquish control and stop with maybe some of the complaining and the criticizing, to where he feels safe. You know, a lot of the women who come to me, their husbands are working too much. They're playing video games. They're out with the guys. They're watching television all the time. All of those are avoiding behavior, right? And sometimes they are avoiding us because we've been difficult to be around, right? When my husband would share with me what was happening in his business, we own a roofing business, and I would show up like Miss Know-It-All with all this advice and, well, if it was me and all this kind of stuff, like I know anything about running a roofing company, those conversations went drastically down. He wasn't sharing with me anymore because I wasn't a safe place.
Yeah.
I wasn't a good listener. I was full of advice and criticism. Well, why'd you do that? Why didn't you say this? Why didn't you say that? I mean, who wants to talk to that? So when we want to connect, we've got to start paying attention to how we're showing up. What does this face look like, right? What's my attitude toward him? Do I have a disposition that says, I think you're smart and capable, and I know you'll do a great job? Or do we have that disposition that shows up like, I've got all the evidence right here of all the ways you've screwed up in the past, and I know you're going to screw up again unless I take care of everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I have found in my own marriage and seen in so many others is that when the wife starts to show up with these 6 intimacy skills, that the husband is just magnetically attracted back to her, right? She shows up with her femininity turned up to high, which causes his masculinity to turn up to high, and they are just magnetically attracted to one another. And so the intimacy increases, physical and otherwise, right? Because we want that connection. We want that desire. We want that romance and that, that warm, connected feeling that we had when we were first together. And like you said, he's still the same guy that you married, but maybe his good qualities have gotten buried too underneath responsibilities and stress and all the things that have gone on for him. But you can draw those things back out of him by the way you show up.
You know, amen, amen, amen. Because like I had a hysterectomy in December and another procedure in addition to that. And so I was on bed rest for 4 weeks, like flat. I could go to the bathroom and I could come back. That was it. So for 4 weeks, like I made sure the house was spotless by the time I left, but we were on stairs and I couldn't do stairs. And so I was upstairs the whole time. And that guy, he cooked, he cleaned. Like I lost some weight but that was great because I could always lose some weight. And so like he just stepped up to the plate and was so ready. And I could see like he finally felt like he could be the man, he could be the hero. And I feel like so many times we don't let our man feel like they're the hero. Like we were walking in the grocery store the other day and he's like, it's weird, but the guys are becoming feminine and the girls are becoming masculine. And however you want to take that, it's how you're going to take that. And if you get offended, I'm sorry, but it is true. Like the women all of a sudden feel like they have to take on the world and be the dominant person. And so the man's like, okay, I'm here. Just let me know when you need me, and it's not like, let the guy be the guy. Like, we had our water heater went out. Our faucet went out. We found out we had unwelcomed guests in our house. And so like, and one night he was able to take care of all that stuff. And I'm like, you're such my superhero. And he sends me this text like with Superman like this standing. Like men want to know that you're proud of them and that you appreciate them. And if you were to just for 1 week do nothing but compliment, see what that does to your spouse. Like,
yes, that's beautiful. Beautiful advice. Yeah, one of the skills is gratitude, right? We all like to be acknowledged for our contribution. And women say, well, but he doesn't say thank you to me when I cook the dinner. I go, you know what? Maybe it starts with you.
Yeah.
But when you start using more gratitude, I bet you money it's going to start coming back to you, right? Because when we give it, we receive it. I notice my kids saying thank you so much more since we've implemented more gratitude in the home. And you're so right. They want to show up as our heroes. Let them.
Yeah.
Let them carry the heavy box and the heavy bags and let them do, you know, and then pour on the gratitude. Yeah, it's very connecting.
It is. And it's been fun to watch the evolution, you know, that has gone on. So, how do people find you if they want to get a hold of you?
Oh, my coaching business is called Relationships with a Map. And I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. And my website is relationshipswithamap.org. So I would love to hear from ladies who have found this interesting or intriguing.
Absolutely. Okay, so my one last question for you is, and it could be anything, but you're sitting on a park bench, sitting next to your 19-year-old self, and you have one piece of advice, not regret. Some people interpret as regret. That's not what I mean. One piece of advice that you wish that you could have known back then, that you know now, that has been life-changing for you. And it can be in any realm. It doesn't matter. It can be relationships, business. I don't care. What would you recommend?
I think I would say be content. You don't have to strive and you don't have to go 1,000 miles per hour every day. You don't have to achieve everything in the world, but rest in, you know, the goodness of the life that you've been given.
That is fantastic advice. Because so many times we're taught that we have to do everything, and especially as a wife or as a female. And so I like that. And be content. That's very good advice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cristie, for being on the show. What you're doing is so important. And I really do hope that more people can hear the message so that you can help and save marriages, because that is what I'm all about.
Thank you for having me and spreading the message.
Yes. All right, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. If you are feeling a little down in the dumps, or maybe I hope that you took some type of a nugget away that you could implement in your life, because being a mom can be tough, being a business owner can be tough, but being a wife can also be tough. And that's something that we don't always talk about. So go hug your man, go tell him thank you, and go do something good today. Have a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.